Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. So as the title of the video says, NLP versus hypnosis, what is the difference? NLP versus hypnosis, what is the difference? I'm doing this video because I had somebody message me and say, Ryan, can you please do a video about the difference between NLP and hypnosis? And I think it's a great question because a lot of the people that are considering learning NLP are also considering learning hypnosis, and a lot of the people that are considering learning hypnosis are also considering learning NLP. I'm actually a board designated trainer of both. I'm a board designated trainer of neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis, and another thing called timeline therapy techniques, which is kind of like a mix of hypnosis and NLP and Gestalt therapy and magic, basically. But today, let's look at the two, because these are the two that everybody's heard of: NLP and hypnosis. If you're in the coaching world, if you're in the self-development world, you've heard of NLP and you've heard of hypnosis. But before I can dive, really into the differences between the two, you have to understand, what they are, and you have to understand what their purpose is. And both NLP and hypnosis are, modalities of, mind improvement. They're tools for accessing the unconscious mind. They're tools for reprogramming a person's mind to bring, their mind into alignment with their goals, right? And, in many cases, to release blocks or to release limiting beliefs that are, keeping a person from performing the behaviors that will bring them to their goals. So I'm going to pull up actually some stuff here that we can look at on my screen. And not my Facebook page there. Here we go. Okay, so this is sort of the general outline of hypnosis, and we're going to get to that in a sec. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you first. This is called the NLP Communication Model. This is called the NLP Communication Model. And it shows, you can see a person's head here. And this is the way we process, information. This is the way actually our mind is working. This is how we produce the behaviors that we produce. And let me give you a quick run through of what's going on here. So we have external information. We have external information that comes in through our five senses, through what's called our vagal senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. When it comes into our mind, this is our unconscious mind here. It goes through a series of filters. Time, space, matter, energy, language, memories, decisions, meta programs, values and beliefs, and attitudes, right? And all the information that comes through is instantly, filtered through all of our past experiences, basically, and everything we know. And it goes through a process of what's called deletion, distortion, and generalization. And then that becomes our internal representations. That's what I would call our subjective reality, right? Our own little version of what's going on in the world. Everything that we believe, everything that we know is our internal representation. Also going on at the same time inside of us is our current state. What state of mind are we in? Okay. Also going on at the same time is our physiology. What state of physiology are we in? How do we feel, right? What is our, resting heart rate? What is our brainwave frequency? All this stuff is part of our physiology. And these three things are, very closely linked. Each of them affect one another. And then depending what is the status of all of these three things at any given time in a human being, they create behavior. Right? So our thoughts, our internal representations, depending on how we feel, depending on what state we're in, will determine what we do, right? If we're visualizing success in our mind and we're, feeling good, feeling happy, and, physiologically we're well, then we will create behaviors that are associated with success, right? So with both NLP and hypnosis, we aim to affect different components here in order to ultimately change our behavior, right? Or in order to ultimately change the way we feel so that our behavior is automatically changed. So both hypnosis and NLP will influence what's going on inside the human neurology in order to change the outcomes that they're getting in life, right? Now, here's where it starts to get different. They do it in different ways. Right? And, there's not really a universal definition of, further complicating this question, is that there's not really a universal definition of what is hypnosis, right? A lot of people say actually NLP is just a certain kind of hypnosis. Okay, a lot of people believe that because it's a series of tools that address, you know, change at the unconscious level, that address this stuff. You know, other people say no, you know, NLP and hypnosis are two different things. So I'll give you my definition. I'll give you, you know, the difference in terms of, you know, the professional boards that I come from, the ABNLP and the ABH and the TLTA. But, you know, you might have had training that isn't exactly the same as what I'm describing, and that's okay. Remember, what's important is getting the results that we want in life. You know, the labels that we put on things are not all that important. But anyway, so that's the NLP communication model. And here we have the ABNLP model of therapy for NLP, which should just, you know, the reason I'm showing you this is because it shows you all the different tools that are included in, you know, a standard understanding of NLP. And as you can see, there are many different tools, right? We've got the meta model, we've got rapport, we've got meta programs, dealing with values, dealing with presuppositions. Probably, you know, arguably the most important tools come under change work, which is things like anchoring, which aims to directly affect state, right? Or something like timeline therapy, which aims to directly affect, you know, what's going on, you know, our memories, our, you know, do we have unresolved negative emotions? Can we change our attitudes and beliefs around things, right? That's timeline therapy. There's specific values techniques. There's specific submodalities techniques, which specifically addresses internal representations, our internal subjective reality. So with NLP, we have this like sort of full tool chest of very specific tools and patterns for addressing each of the specific things here, right? We got parts integration, right? That's a very powerful thing that can also be done in hypnosis. That's the thing. A lot of this stuff can actually be done in the context of hypnotism, right? And there's a lot of hypnotists who will, you know, do parts integration, who will, you know, affect values without even using traditional NLP techniques, right? Okay, so that's the NLP, you know, model of therapy. Excuse me. Don't be fooled by the word NLP in the communication model. This is a universal communication model. This is how, you know, people's minds work, right? And then we've got all the tools of NLP at our disposal to affect the different parts, right? There's specific tools for physiology, all that good stuff. This bar here, where, you know, we have our our IRs, internal representations, our state and our physiology mixing together to create our behaviors. This is actually called strategies, how we do the things that we do. And there's specific, does it say it on here? There's specific tools in the, you know, NLP toolbox. Yeah, there it is, strategies, to affect just this part, how we do the things that we do, right? And if you see here, look, under change work, the word hypnosis is there, right? Some people consider hypnosis to be part of NLP, right? You know, it depends who you ask. Okay, so now let's look at, you know, this is my model of hypnosis, how I do hypnosis. It's an 8-step framework, an 8-step process. You know, and this is in the context of a session. We demystify hypnosis, you know, and explain hypnosis. This is to give people a clear understanding of what hypnosis actually is and what it's not, and to, you know, set them up for success in the process, right? Because hypnosis will work better if the client understands exactly why it's working so well. The next thing we do in a hypnotic process is an interview. This is, you know, this is not just a regular intake. This is where we're doing a special hypnotic interview with the client to figure out exactly what it is that they want to get out of the change work, right? Then we go through, you know, steps 4, 5, and 6 are all the process of guiding the person into what's called the trance state or the hypnotic state, right? This is where they're usually, but not always, their eyes are closed. They're feeling very relaxed, very at ease. And they have then access to their unconscious mind, right? Because everything that I showed you here, this is all at the unconscious level. This is outside of conscious awareness, okay? So once we get to step 7, the client is in this deep, relaxed, you know, hypnotic state. They're not unconscious. They're not, you know, asleep. They're still awake and aware, but they're in a deep, relaxed, hypnotic state. And there's access to the unconscious mind. This is where we can make all kinds of what's called hypnotic suggestions. Hypnotic suggestions. And the power in hypnotic suggestions is they're more indirect. They're more oftentimes metaphorical, or they're more oftentimes um, addressing what's happening in the communication model by, instead of directly changing each of these things like we would do in NLP, by setting like an outcome, or setting a defined self-image, for the client. And then through, the power of the unconscious mind, if we're talking about hypnosis, the unconscious mind is going to bring things into alignment, is going to make whatever changes it needs to make, it's going to release whatever it needs to release, in order to align the person's, memories, decisions, meta programs, values and beliefs and attitudes, with what they want their reality to be, right? So I hope this has, given you a little bit of a better understanding about the difference between NLP and hypnosis. Again, they're both tools for addressing the unconscious mind. They're both tools that are used to be, used therapeutically to make change at the unconscious level, to bring people's results into alignment with what they want. But they're both tools that achieve that very differently. And here's the secret. Most people that learn NLP also learn hypnosis. Most people that learn NLP also learn hypnosis. And there are a lot of people who learn hypnosis, and they just leave it at that. And they're a hypnotherapist and they get great results with just hypnosis. From my point of view, the thing that I enjoy, as a practitioner doing more, I actually like hypnosis better. I like hypnosis better. I find my clients tend to enjoy it more. There's a lot of, you get to be quite artful when you're doing hypnosis, right? Versus with the NLP patterns, which are very, kind of not rigid, but they're very specific in how they're executed, how they're used. You can achieve very similar things with hypnosis as you can with NLP. And in fact, interestingly, in the context of hypnosis, you can add in bits of NLP. And in the context of NLP, you can add in bits of hypnosis. NLP, to give you a little bit more information, was based on the work of many people, but when they were creating NLP, they modeled three therapists predominantly: Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson being probably the most famous hypnotherapist and the most prolific hypnotherapist to have lived, right? So NLP is based on the work of, 1/3 on the work of a very predominant hypnotherapist. Hypnosis, on the other hand, NLP has been around since the 70s. Hypnosis has been around forever. Hypnosis has been around basically as long as people have existed. There has been, hypnotic phenomena occurring and people utilizing hypnotic phenomena to make change and to make healing, and to bring people's unconscious mind into alignment with their conscious goals. To give you a little bit more understanding on the difference there. And so again, here's the advice. And I give this to my friends who ask me about studying NLP and studying hypnotherapy. I give this advice to my students. Study hypnosis first. A good hypnotherapy training, such as the one that I run, you're pretty much competent and confident with your hypnotherapy skill after the third day. After the third day, you're competent and you're confident and you're ready to go and use hypnosis, right? And it gives you a really nice, really good foundation for understanding the unconscious mind, for understanding the subconscious, and for how to make changes rapidly and effectively, right? That are long lasting and good for yourself and good for your clients. NLP tends to have a little bit of a higher learning curve. And tends to take a little bit longer to learn and understand and become confident with, right? A decent NLP course is going to be at least 7 days. Whereas a decent hypnosis course, you can do a 3-day course and be actually quite good. In fact, my hypnosis training is 3 days. There's additional components to it than that, but the live training portion is 3 days and you're competent and confident in your skills. So my advice to anybody who's thinking about learning NLP or hypnosis is learn hypnosis first. It'll give you a much greater understanding of whether or not you want to move on to NLP. And my advice to anybody who's learning NLP is, if you haven't trained in hypnosis yet, take an NLP training that includes both hypnosis and that other thing that I mentioned earlier called timeline therapy techniques, which is a subset of techniques that's part of NLP, but very unique in that it integrates regression, it integrates hypnosis, it integrates Gestalt theory to make this really powerful package for creating change at the unconscious level. So if you have any questions about this, go ahead and drop them in the comments. There was I threw a lot of information here at you in the last 15 minutes, 18 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found this helpful. Drop your questions in the comments. If you are interested in getting trained in any of the stuff that I just described, I teach all of this stuff. Please get a hold of me. I am a board designated trainer, as I mentioned. Just send me a direct message. I'm happy to chat about it. I have hypnosis training programs running. In fact, every month. Everything is sold out for March right now, but I've got stuff open in April. Again, any questions, drop them in the comments. Thank you very much for listening to this video, for watching this video, and I'll be seeing you again tomorrow morning. And to the person who requested that I cover this topic, thank you very much for your request. If others of you that are listening have requests about things you'd like me to cover, go ahead and send them my way. Thanks, everyone.